Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. I want to talk about a man's word. I'll tell you, I have had so many problems with that. I've always believed a man's word shows his soul. So, no, if he doesn't have a word, he doesn't keep his word, he doesn't have a soul. It's that important. And it's funny because I was in the oil business. And let's see, I think 79 is when I got in. And that was when it was like $2 a barrel for oil. And so I got in on that, and I did my thing, and I never was in debt, never. But the oil is such an expensive business. And so eventually, what I did is I put my house up for collateral, and I drilled my first well, and it paid off in like 3 months, something like that. And instead of paying back my house, what I did is drilled another well. So now I got 2 wells, and it paid off in I think about a month and a half, maybe 2 months. And then so I did it again, the third one, and then it paid off in less than a month. And it just kept going, just kept snowballing. And eventually I did put the money back into the house. And it's not like it was a lot of money. I think it was like $5,000 to drill a well at that time. And but what I'm getting to is, after that, it got to the point where we were talking big dollars. And you got to remember, here I'm what, 30 years old, 31 years old. And so it started becoming a lot of money. And so then I ended up having to make a loan. And so I borrowed money. And it was lots of money. And then eventually I started making so much money, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody. It's like I say, the price of oil went up to like $38, $39 a barrel. And so many of us were making a lot of money. And then what happened, the government saw to it that, well, we made too much money, so they came up with a windfall profit tax. And so then they come in, for me it was a third. They took a third of my money right from the top. I mean, it's just like if you own a business, at the end of the night, a government representative comes in, opens up your cash register, and pulls out 1/3 of your money. And that's what it was like. And so everybody went broke. Not just me, everybody. And what it was later on, I didn't realize it, but now as I'm older and wiser, I realize it was a big business in cahoots with the government. And see, the big business, you notice the big businesses didn't go out of business. No, it's just all of us small producers. And they did the same thing in the 70s when they had the oil shortages, and the gas stations, all the people were lined up, and all that kind of stuff. That was to get out the small gas station attendants, to get them out of business. See, at that time, boy, they had 2 or 3 gas stations on every corner. And so what they did is made a shortage, and only the big oil producers could get it. Like the Shells and Mobiles and all them. They had gasoline, but the small gas station attendants, they didn't have any gas to sell, so it put them out of business. So it was basically the same thing they did in the oil business. But the point I'm trying to get across is I did work. I worked for people. I had people work for me, and a lot of it was on my word. I would tell them this is what I need, and they would do it. And then, no, I wouldn't pay or anything until later on, and I'd pay them. And because there was so much work, so fast, it took time to get the money, and we're talking big dollars. I mean, it was 6 figures I was paying a lot of times, and it was funny because, like I say, I always pay my debt. I'm never in debt, but when I did, I made sure I got out of it. But when the oil field crash came like that, I couldn't back up my word, and that hurt me so bad. And I think that we finished up in the mid 80s, somewhere in the mid 80s. But it was funny because it was the late 90s before I finally got all my debt paid off. And it was funny because I see now it's 2014, and I was either last year or the year before. One of my bankers, way back in the 80s, he emailed me and he thanked me. I didn't even know he was still alive. And he emailed me and he thanked me for paying off my debt. And he said I was one of the very few that paid off my debt. And so what it was my word. Now I was in a lot of debt. I'm not even sure if I got everybody paid for or not, but like I say, I did my best. And so I am really big on some man's word. And it's funny because that's the reason why you don't have equal. I don't believe in the equal rights kind of thing, man and woman, because it's the man's word that I go by. It's a woman's word. I don't think is that big of a thing. I mean, they change their minds, so that's why it's hard to take a woman's word. And but it was funny because once somebody, a man, tells me something, and especially if we agree on something, as in a business deal, then you change your mind. I'll never do business with you again. And not only business, I won't do anything with you. And it's funny because I've had contracts and deals, and that's why I don't believe in legal contracts, because they're only as good as the man's word. I mean, when I was in the oil business, a lot of people didn't do their contract, and it just, you can put a lien on their stuff and all this kind of stuff, but that's it's a deeper thing. What you learn, that person is really a bad person. So that's what I learned on the word, and how important your word is. And I say even now, that's why I have a difficult time with women. I mean, running around learning women and all this dating thing. I've been learning a lot, and that's because I've always had my wife, and like I say, she lied. So she lied a lot, and but I knew she never lied with the intent to hurt me. Normally when she lied to protect me. In her mind, she was protecting me from the truth. And she was probably right, because some truth is really difficult to handle. So, but what I'm trying to get across because your word is very important, and you stick with your word. When you say something, you have to stick with it. This is Mike. NoStressMike.com.